Hi everyone, it's Celeste and welcome back to my channel. I'm in the middle of DIY wedding bonanza. It is my dream fairy tale wedding that I've always wanted as a child, and this time I'm showing you how I'm making my bridesmaids bouquets. This is actually made from recycled fabric scraps from my wedding dress, some of my favorite colors such as these purple lilac flowers, and some pearls and some little wire pieces. I also used ribbon here and here at the bottom, and then of course more handle covering. You will need a lot of fabric to get this done and a bouquet holder. I got mine from Joann's. Make sure to click subscribe to see more DIY videos, and that way you'll never miss out on any future content. Let's go ahead and get started in this tutorial. I did a huge test using this ribbon, and this is all the ribbon I have left. So in order to fulfill my bridal bouquets, I'm going to need to make more. This is what one of the tests look like, and it's very adorable. This is satin ribbon. I believe it's about 3 inches wide, and I used a long needle for the base so I could stick it into some foam. Now for the ones that I have pre-made, I'm going to be sticking them into like some sponges, that way I know where they are and how much count I need per bridal bouquet. It's definitely better to make more roses than too few roses and then run out of material. So I'm going to be using my dress scrap fabrics and some other beautiful fabrics that I have around. This is stretch taffeta. I use this in almost all my videos at this point, and I'm going to just use the ribbon as a guide and then cut it out. I'm going to try to cut as many strips as possible. Now with this, you want to cut as many strips, and different sizes is okay. Just remember, the bigger the width of the ribbon, the larger your rose is going to become. The smaller the width, the smaller the rose, and it will be kind of like a small little rosebud versus a giant single bloomed rose. Once I get to the end with these weird little triangle extra scraps, I'm going to cut those off so I have a nice even ribbon. Now in order to determine the size of our petals, I'm going to be folding in one of the coroners into itself to make a perfect triangle. Then I'm going to fold it over on the other side. This is going to give me a new piece of ribbon, and from that spot on that fold, the second one, I'm going to cut off the excess. This is the size that we need. So this is now my template, and now I'm going to cut the rest of the scraps into the one piece. Depending on how big you want your rose to be means how many petals you will have to cut. If you have really large petals, you won't have to cut as many, but if you have small, dainty roses like what I have, or medium-sized roses, you're going to need a lot of them. Now fire up your hot glue. Go ahead and start pressing in those 2 triangles from the beginning that we made and hot glue them down. Now add a line of hot glue to the side and the other side, right at the edge, and then fold it in a little bit, not too big. It'll look something like a little package. Here, I'll do it again and show it closer up. So you want to go ahead and lay some hot glue onto the material and then fold it over at the corner so it makes a perfect right triangle. Then go onto the other side and then do it again. It's okay if your corners do not touch. It's perfectly fine because your petal will be larger. It's alright to have various sizes of petals because not every rose is perfect, but it is unique in its own way. Now add hot glue to the edges and then fold it over. This way you have kind of a little box inside, so it creates a perfect little shape. Now repeat this step until you have made tons and tons of flower petals. Believe it or not, this did not yield that many roses. So really, you want to cut tons and tons and tons of these. So what we're going to do is that first fold on the right, we are going to glue another one connecting to it, so it will become a chain. Keep repeating this step over and over and over again until you are happy with how long your chain is. I personally used up to 7 per chain, and I also did about 10 per chain if I wanted them to be a little bit bigger, if I knew that I cut the sizes wrong. Now, if your petals are a lot bigger than mine, you can actually minimize the number a little bit more because they'll be ginormous. So you could use 4 or 5. Now, just to recap, all you have to do is glue down the right edge and then attach a left edge on top of it. Once you do that, you want to start doing it again until you start getting a really long chain. Don't worry if it starts to curl, you want that to happen. And if it doesn't, don't worry. It's still gonna work out. In order to make the rose shape, we just need to spiral it into it itself, making sure the hot glued parts are on the outside. To begin the rolling, I'm going to lay it on its hot glued side, and then the clean side, I'm going to start hot gluing that. I'm going to do a really nice and thick layer of hot glue so it stays nice and secure. Then I'm going to slowly begin rolling. Now this is optional, but I'm going to take a large quilting pin and then slowly put it in the middle of the first part of the petal and then roll around it. Take your time with this and don't get burned. This happened to me many times. I don't like doing a very long line of hot glue because I don't want to end up making it dry, so I like to do it in turns. Once you get further down, go ahead and add more hot glue and then continue until the rose has been completed. It is so satisfying to slowly roll the rose into its shape, and you can see it right here now that it's starting to take form. For the final area, I like to go back really hard and add a lot of hot glue. And you can hold off on the edge itself first, that way you make sure that it's rolled correctly. When you're rolling this, you want to make sure that all the bottom is lined up the same as the others. Now I'm going to lightly press on it to make sure all of it is deeply secured. There's a lot of hot glue in this bad boy, but this is what the finished rose looks like. I'm very proud of it and it's very pretty. Now that you know how to make these, it's time to make tons and tons and tons of these bad boys to fill up your bouquet. For the base of my bouquets, I'm using this handle from Joann's. It's by the David Tutera collection. Now, since my flowers all have pins, I can push them in and then figure out where I want them to sit. Because of the pins, I don't have to worry about gluing them down just yet and they can be held in place. So start filling up that bouquet holder with tons of the roses you just made. I personally didn't like the idea of only having just roses, so I used some wire and beads to twist them all together to create little strands. I have floating pearls, so I did one single pearl and twisted it all the way as a spike. Then I did multiple seed beads and twisted them into their own on one single strand to create baby's breath. If you want a separate tutorial for that, let me know. I don't think it's really explanatory, but if you want to see a full one, leave me a comment down below and I'll make it. But I didn't think it was necessary. So I'm gonna stick these in between randomly and see how I like it. Obviously, you don't have to add this, but I thought it would be nice to have a little bit of flair. I really love how this turned out, so you can finish the bottom however you want. You could keep it plain, you could add fabric, you could paint it. I honestly went back and used ribbon and just glued it down with a hot glue gun until the handle was not white anymore. You can use your actual wedding theme colors, or you can just use colors that you like, or something that matches their dresses. And so, for the final reveal, these are what my bouquets look like. I went back and added a long strand of pearl tassels to the bottom using wire and just twisting it with pearls. I used blue ribbon because that's what I had. In my next video, I'll show you how I made my bouquet. This is what my bouquets look like. I'm okay with it, so I'm going to go back and cover this part and keep this part blue as a nice surprise pot. I'm going to go ahead and cut these little tassels off, and so now it's there. I have my hot glue gun ready, and then I'm going to be taking scraps of my dress and using it for the handle just to cover it again. I'm going to work at the bottom all the way to the top. That way it gets fully secured. But first, I'm going to make sure I have nice new white ribbon tassels going at the bottom. These ribbons, I'm going to make sure that I burn the edge. and it's nicely singed. This way it does not fray. Another thing too is with these fabric scraps, because it's such a sheer material, I can burn the edge. This one is already burned. You can see it here that it's like this, but the bottom part here is not. So when I go like this, it comes undone. But if I burn it, it'll go away and secure the edges. Now I'm going to find a nice little point here and just glue it, making sure. Okay, these are double-sided satin ribbons. So now I'm just going to glue it down. So now draw a line of hot glue on your bouquet handle. Start with a small part of your fabric and then lay it down. Once that's secure, go ahead and add another dollop of hot glue at the bottom and then fold your bouquet upwards. This way you can start wrapping around the bouquet. If you still have a little bit of hot glue left from the beginning part, go ahead and start wrapping your flower bouquet. So now you just go over and over and over with your fabric until you reach the end. Once you get to the end, I'm going to fold over the fabric just a little bit, but first I'm going to secure it down. I'm doing this because I don't want a really rough edge, even though we burned it. I want it to look very clean. So then once we get to that point, we're going to attach it back to the bouquet handle, and then it's beautiful. I hope you guys enjoyed that journey. Stay inspired, be creative, and I will see you in a future video. Bye!